think we're getting ready to go. I think we're getting ready for a show. Trying to make sure these things with mics and stuff work up here. What's happening? All right. This camera and that camera and this camera and that camera. Seems to work just fine. All right, now let's see if it works right now. Yeah, it does. Hey, look at that. All right, that's a good start. Hi, everybody. What's going on? Good to see you. Happy Wednesday. It is indeed a Wednesday, is it not? If I have my humping right, yeah. It's solid. Is that Chud's Meow in the theme tune? Is that Chud's Meow in the theme tune? No, it is not. 250 KO. I'm not saying whose meow it is, or even if it is a meow indeed. It might be a digital meow. It will always be a mystery. Hi, welcome. Happy hump day to all of you. I hope you had a great 4th of July. I certainly did. And I would like to say hello, chat room, and welcome to the show. All of you wonderful people. Don't forget to share the show out. Let people know we're live. Let people know we're around. Let people know we're under it and over it and coming to terms with it. Yeah. Also, for the record, regular shows today, just even though it's been a weird holiday week, fear not, all will be as abnormal. And we will, Philip Bittner's joining us for the second hour. Hopefully everything works out just fine. And I have no reason to believe it wouldn't. So we should be good. So let's jump right into our Twitter trends this morning. And at the top of it, Andrea Mitchell and Queen Camilla. I guess because they're both the same age and both make equally bad sense. I don't know. Okay, Andrea Mitchell, probably because people are griping about her. They tend to. There's a lot of ageism around her. That's here. Yeah, Andrea Mitchell's never training for good. During a reminder that Nancy Pelosi is older than Joe and ran circles around Trump all day. Oh, because she made an age thing. And then of course Trump is blowing a fuse. And her guest just misgendered the trans shooter in Philly by calling them his, him, and he. Destroy this transphobic bigot now. I got news for you. Running to defend a shooter in a situation that I gotta say that sounds like somebody is trying to use the left against the left. Yeah, there you go. The left are violent, intolerant, maniacal, hypocritical bigots. Yeah, so this is the idea that they're mocking the idea of transphobia because it is. Stunned as she breaks news, White House cocaine has been confirmed as cocaine. Okay, this is so wild. Stunned as she breaks the news, White House cocaine was found. Oh, yes, this is the story that, and it wasn't found in the White House. It was in like a working area, right? Discovered a, yeah, okay. Secret Service discovered a suspicious powder Sunday night. Initial testing of which indicated the substance was cocaine. Critics of Joe Biden immediately pounced on the news, suggest his son was to blame in a mock struggle with addiction. Mitch reported that a full label panel confirmed preliminary tests that identified the substance as cocaine. This is so wild. Again, this is one of these things. They're like, cocaine was never found in the Trump White House. Yeah, because it was never on a surface for very long. That's why. Because they didn't swab any of the Trump clan's nose. Formal lab has confirmed the suspicion the white powder substance found in the West Wing on Sunday was, in fact, positive for cocaine. The discovery led to a brief evacuation of the White House Sunday night. Joining us is now, this is so unusual. You and I have covered this. I can't even fathom anything like this having been found before in the West Wing. Okay, get the fuck out of here. Of course you can. You're really gonna George W. Bush this into the memory hole? Really? Can't imagine. You can't even imagine, can you? Well, I got news for you. If RFK gets in there, it's going to be on every surface, and it won't be cocaine. It will be a powdery substance, but oftentimes, I suppose, cooked into a spoon. All right, now I go back to the 70s in the White House, so this is pretty wild. It's absolutely extraordinary, Andrea. This is new conclusive test confirms. Okay, so recap, Dylan. We've been reporting yesterday this was found, we understand, in a highly trafficked common area of the West Wing. It's an area where individuals, especially visitors, individuals who may be coming for instance, say a private tour, might have been asked to leave some of their personal belongings before heading into a more sensitive area of the West Wing, which of course includes the president, Okay, so yeah, it's the outside area. So somebody dumped some friggin' maggot dropped cocaine in there. Get out of here. Next, uh, let's see. Again, they can't really play on the whole cocaine thing because I guess it eats into the Sleepy Joe narrative. um, Trump versus Biden economy and Barron's doing 11 charts. Let's see the Barron whether they would go and the charts. Where are the charts? There are no charts. Where are the charts gone? Where have all the charts gone? Okay, this is it. Scroll to continue. There we go. Scrolling to continue. Barron's and then okay. I don't see the charts. I suppose I have to buy this thing as a promoted tweet, isn't it? Yep. King Charles and Queen Camilla visited the NHS Royal Infirmary of Edinburgh to mark 75 years of the NHS. So that's lovely. Fantastic. It's wonderful. And of course, she's carrying her own umbrella like a good queen. And they don't have, I'm confused. So when you become queen, they don't have little birds that fly around and hold. Does that stop when you're a princess? I guess they only do that when you're a princess. I don't know how it works. The queen. Oh, the queen. Oh, am I wearing the right thing? You know. Oh, sorry. I don't know why I became Mrs. Doubtfire in that moment. Let's see. The creature. Okay, everybody's just waiting for them to take over. Can we just get rid of these ridiculous people? Although I will say, as somebody who officially, as an American, gives cannot find it within myself to give two shits about royals whatsoever. I do enjoy the cartoonish pomp and circumstance that is one of the draws of going to the UK in the first place. That it's like imagine going to Disneyland if they took down the Magic Kingdom castle. Like if they just took it down, they're just like, you know what? That's so old fashioned. We're not going to do that anymore. And they just removed it and they replaced it with with apartments. You know what I mean? Like, would you really want to go to Disneyland anymore? I don't think so. I mean, you just stand in line to, like, hey, we have to stand in line for 7 hours, but at least we can stare at the, what is that, Trump Tower? Shit, I'm getting out of here. So, uh, keep your old British stuff, will you? If you want to be in a real democracy and all that kind of stuff, come over here. You're always welcome in the United States. But if you want to live under silly people who wear crowns, knock yourself the fuck out. And that goes for, by the way, for maggots. I don't know why the Trump family, the Drumpf family, is from Germany. I don't know why they're not just trying to screw the Hitler movement. Just go back and try to restore the monarchy in over there. I mean, what do you got to lose? Certainly not an election. It is. Oh dear. Do I click on National Bikini Day? Yes, I knew it was going to be a problem. I knew it was gonna. I was gonna regret that quickly. This is from Duolingo, by the way. This is the official account of Duolingo. I don't know how you say that in any language, honestly. Okay, scroll. Okay, these people, and then people scrolling, and then I don't know why somebody referenced this. They sent this my way. They were like, "Hal Sparks," like they were CCing me on this, and I was like, "I don't." I mean, I get it. I think that's hilarious. Lego Dave Grohl is very funny. They just put his head on everything. I mean, it's a if you need a hobby, I mean, like Twitter hobbies, as Twitter hobbies go, this is not bad. Can I just say, for the record, let me do one thing real quick. Move this up here so people can see what on my little mini thing. Scrolling this down. There we go. So I mean, we love Dave Grohl references no matter. Oh dear God. Okay. Oh dear. Okay. Oh dear. That's the most. That makes the most sense of all the Trump's head on other bodies things. And it's. Uh, I fear what's going on in Magaton right now. You know what? I'll scroll through this later on my own. Just kidding. All right. Missouri, whenever it's trending, it's not a good thing for Missouri. Just saying. Also, for the record, usually aligned with some sort of bad Josh Hawley news. Just yeah. Let's see. The judge delivers. Oh, this is the. Oh, right. So it's a Missouri judge versus I don't know this Biden plaintiff. 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 Okay, sure. This could be arguably one of the most important First Amendment cases in modern history. Express Missouri versus Biden plaintiff Jeff Landry. No, it isn't. You're talking about a plan that started under Trump and Biden ended. And again, sued the federal government from talking to social media companies because they apparently the judge believe Elmo's Twitter files LARP with Kremlin shit. Yeah, that's true. The idea is that the government should have no say whatsoever in warning people about fake news, especially about elections. And that's just part and parcel. That's just the nature of it. Now, other private companies can interact with the government, especially if they contract stuff out or they're germane to something or they want something from the government at some point. That doesn't stop them. But for some reason, social media is not allowed because private companies can't do that. But free speech. You don't have free speech. It's a private company. Twitter's ridiculous. It is. I'm on there, but it's ridiculous. Okay. Sunshine Law violations by AG's office under Josh Hawley will cost Missouri $240K. All right. What a surprise. Instead of simply reporting the facts that a federal judge has delivered a blockbuster injunction in Missouri versus Biden, blocking this administration from out. By the way, Missouri versus Biden, is this the okay? This is Eric Schmidt. The plaintiffs are likely to. Oh, this is the Trump judge just like flailing around the QAnoniness. But it's great cover for Josh Hawley hiding his financial shenanigans. Rule on whether two single. Okay, blah blah blah. Truly astonishing ruling of compromise health safety with a scoop by judge blocks U.S. officials from tech contacts. Yeah. Here's the opinion. Okay. Preliminary injunction. All right. So again, can we? Does everybody mind if we just calm the fuck down during this preliminary injunction? Injunction. Fuck that function. All right. I have to move this thing up because it's bugging me down at the bottom, and I can move this down here, and then I can slide this over. What are you doing? Happy Hump Day. And by the way, this is a guy filing this against Joseph R. Biden, Karine Jean-Pierre, Vivek Murthy, basically everybody that's currently in the administration. All right. I may disapprove what you say, but I would defend to death the right to say it. Evelyn Beatrice Hill, the Friends of Voltaire. I think that's actually a Voltaire quote, but whatever. This case is about free speech clause in the First Amendment of the United States, explosion in social media. Okay, this is just, you could tell he's a QAnon judge. Although censorship alleged in this case most exclusively targeted conservative speech, the issues raised here and go beyond party line. Alleged in there. Okay. Also, the temporary injunction on this, where this guy has to, okay, Congress shall make no law respecting establishment or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press. Well, you can't yell fire in a crowded theater, and obviously this is what are you making the pro-child porn argument at this point? We still agree that's bad, right? We still agree that because you like child porn and it exists and it is your expression to have it in your hard drive, that still isn't protected by the Constitution, right? We understand that, right? It's like the right to bear arms doesn't include nuclear weapons, or are we just fucking that off as well? Anyways, the pro child porn crowd are using everything they can to fight for unabridged freedom of speech. For the following quotes reveal the founding fathers for if men are to be precluded from offering their sentiments on a matter which may involve the most serious and alarming consequences that can invite the consideration of mankind, reason is of no use to us. The freedom of speech may be taken away, and the dumb and silent may be led like sheep to the slaughter. Yeah, it's the problem with telling people that something is fake is not the same as taking away the fake speech. Labeling stuff, you can, because interestingly enough, as a reader, don't you have the right and ability to decide whether that label is meaningful to you? Because there's a bunch of people who read like the CDC's labelings that said ivermectin doesn't help and took that as a green light to go guzzle some of it. So where's the interrupt? You can still interpret speech on your own, right? Or are we just gonna argue? Like again, these are the people who don't want to, argue men and women and women and men and trans and men and women and these are words and sacrosanct and marriages for straight people and only and blah blah blah, all that language. They're completely fine with being sacrosanct and immovable, because if anybody hears otherwise, if people hear gay people got married, they'll think that their marriage means less. Like, what the fuck is that? It's the same people who are like, you can't label something because if you label it, then it changes the meaning of it. Okay. Whoever would overthrow the liberty of a nation must first begin by subduing the free acts of speech. Well, one of the ways you subdue the free acts of speech is by, I think, the Steve Bannon method of flooding the zone with bullshit. That's another. Okay, fuck you. All right, I'm done. I'm done. This is how stupid. Oh, good lord. You guys might recently remember that I brought up the Benjamin Franklin letters that he wrote from the point of view of a woman secretly in a newspaper in Philly back in the day in 1783, and those were like 17, yeah, somewhere around there. It wasn't 1783, but anyways, it's a silence do good. It's letters of silence do good, not silence dogwood. What the fuck? Reason and free inquiry are the only effectual agents against error. Um, yeah, free inquiry is your own work. It is not the same as paralleling information without any caveat. You get basically lying, saying that this piece of information is equal to this piece of information. That would limit reason and free inquiry. Just for the record. The question does not concern whether speech is conservative, moderate, liberal, progressive, or somewhere in between. What matters is that Americans, despite their views, will not be censored or suppressed by the government. Other than well-known exceptions to the free speech clause, all political views and content are protected for free speech. Yeah. What are well-known exceptions? The well-known exceptions would be what? Treason. How about reposting Kremlin talking points about the vaccines directly? Any of that? That's all right. Factual bias. In the case, plaintiffs allege the defendants suppressed conservative-leaning free speech, such as suppressing the Hunter Biden laptop story prior to the 2020 election. I appreciate them using the word story. Also, they could not suppress it because it was still on the newspaper's headline, and they didn't suppress it by suggesting that there was going to be misinformation coming, because there was, which is true. So in saying their truth, they did not in any way do this. This will get dumped. Doesn't matter. Suppressing free speech about the lab leak theory of COVID-19's origin. I don't, again, disagreeing with it or calling it out. And again, people are playing fast and loose with the lab leak theory storyline. Because let's be abundantly clear. There's the lab leak theorists are split between those that believe that an accidental release of a virus created either on purpose to test gain of function research, or accidentally, or one that was, I guess there's kind of a small bifurcation in that group as well, but that they made it and it accidentally got out, or they found it, had a copy of it, had a version of that virus in storage, and it got out, or the animal that it was in when they got it from was sold at the wet market later, which is one of the prevalent beliefs. There's that side. Then there's the other side that said they were making a weapon and that the goal was to release the weapon on the West at some point, but it accidentally got out. So they fucked up and killed, again, somewhere between 20 million and 60 million Chinese people have died because of this in general. If you just go by the statistical death rates of people that get it and how fast it spread and where it came from and all that. So anybody who believes the 4,000 number is a fucking lunatic. But, I mean, again, you don't weld people into their apartment buildings in a country of 1.4 billion people because 4,000 people have died from something. You don't even give a shit. You might not even notice how many contagious diseases or repetitive stress injury accidents that cause death in factories and whatnot that kill 4,000 people a year in China do they shrug off? Are they going to shut down their entire economy and lock themselves down for years and years? No, get out of here. All right. So, anyways, the pushback was not on that something could have leaked from there accidentally, but that it or that the thing that leaked, even if somebody took it out on purpose, was biologically real. The what got pushed back on, and what the the general threat of it was, is that the Chinese created a bioweapon. It got out accidentally on purpose, and they called it a lab leak as a way of like kind of skirting around it. But again, for this part to be true, and by the way, did anybody have a problem finding anybody talking about the lab leak, quote unquote, theory beyond that's what they thought? And Peter Daszak coming up and some other folks like that, or that the gain of function research was directly related to that. Like I don't remember ever during COVID having problem finding any information on that or people tweeting about it, but people getting tagged if it seemed their tweets leaned towards the Chinese attacked us with this. Now, still, this guy is more than likely on that side of the equation. And for the record, if he is true, if he is right, if his belief is true that the Chinese created a biological weapon in the Wuhan lab using gain of function research, which the Obama administration had cut funding for and made illegal, and Trump undid those rules and took away funding for security at the Wuhan lab, not for gain of function research, but for security. And if something leaks out, one would think there would be one of the holes that might exist is in the security area. But let's say that they did it on purpose and they sent it out. If that is true, then Donald John Trump was the president of the United States when China enacted the worst biological weapons attack on humanity in world history. And Trump's response was to call them professionals and sell them all of our beef, pork, corn, and soybeans. Because, I don't know, the best people, the best words or something. That's the argument. I'm just saying, tread softly if you want to tell me that Trump's awesome, because that's what he did. And if you're saying that's what happened, he was the sucker that let it happen. Just, I'm not even debating the reality of it. I'm just saying that's your assertion. This is where it goes. So suppressing speech about the efficiency of masks and COVID-19 lockdowns. Okay. I don't know anybody that was suppressed about that. And also, the efficacy of masks had not been studied in the very beginning as far as spreading a contagion broadly. There is no question that you're in the broader context of being around people, 6 feet away or whatever, that it lowers the chance of you catching something from somebody no matter what. And again, surgeons mostly wear those things not so they don't catch something from the patient, but so they don't spit into the wound. And it's worked quite well. So if they've got an infection they're not aware of, it doesn't end up in the patient. And places that operate without them, not so good. Anyways, suppressing speech about the efficiency of COVID-19 vaccines. This is the idea that you could catch it and carry it on. And now that, again, mRNA vaccines versus the Johnson and Johnson, sort of older methodology is the idea that you catch it and then you can't pass on in theory, using the Johnson and Johnson or one of the older kind of vaccines, you don't pass on the virus. In terms of your immune response and what happens in your body when you have an old-fashioned kind of vaccine, it stops at you. And there was a belief system that that's how they would traditionally work in the beginning, and that was one of the ways that everybody was expressing the reason for needing a vaccine over treatments in particular, because it was spreading so fast. And this is people operating on a historical context met with a new threat. And so many of them were making statements about historically how this has worked in the past versus this new threat. And there was a lot of conversation about this. And the only people that were getting kind of stiff-armed were people saying, fuck it, just vitamin C me and I want to go back to work. This is all nonsense and I don't believe it. These, by the way, are the exact same people who believe the lab leak theory that a bioweapon attacked us. So apparently what they truly believe is that China attacked us with a bioweapon, but they didn't send their best one first. They sent kind of a dud to lower everyone's reaction so that we'd all get mad about masks and we'd all get mad about vaccines and all that kind of stuff. So that in a couple of years they could send the real one and everybody would be so burned out from COVID, they would think of it as a cry wolf moment in terms of a bioweapon. It would be cry wolf 19. That would be the definition of it. Does that make sense? Which is if you're trying to wipe out the rest of the world and you're building a virus based largely on genetics so that it only kills non-Asians or non-Chinese people, I suppose, if this is the theory that they're going with, it kills white and black people, and not necessarily in that order, and every derivation of Hispanic, I suppose, as well. And you're not ready for it yet, but you've got to get people to lower their guard. So what you do is you release a suppressed minor version of it that causes a lot of damage, maybe even kills some of your own people. You've got your own antidote for it that you can give to your leaders and that kind of stuff. This is from the bioweapon theory, that you send the shitty one first. And then when they go, well, that was easy. We conquered that. That was a bunch of shit. I don't know what everybody was upset about. And then the next one comes, you're slow to get up off the couch when it's coming. And by the time you realize what's happened, you're dead. So that's I suppose what this dude is arguing for. In that right, suppressing speech about election integrity in the 2020 presidential election. No, I think maybe what's the integrity part? Because I don't think you were arguing about election integrity. You were, and nobody was suppressing the speech, but they were calling people out for lying about the results of the election. Suppressing speech about the security of voting by mail. Again, what do you mean suppressed? Kicked off because you used a racial epithet when you described it, or you dropped somebody's name who was, a Georgia election worker who was just happened to be black. Suppressing parody suppressing parody content about defendants. Is this a guy talking about like the watermelon posts about Obama? That kind of stuff? I know I'm sure that would be upsetting to him. I'm going to guess that has nothing to do with the government asking it to be taken down. Whatever. Suppressing negative posts about the economy. You're going to have to talk to Trump about that. And suppressing negative posts about President Biden. Negative. What do you mean negative? Factually incorrect, lying, assertions without evidence, that kind of stuff, or tagging them as such. And also, interesting use of the word suppressing here. Plaintiffs Bhattacharya and Kuldarf are infectious disease epidemiologists and co-authors of the Great Barrington Declaration. The GBD, we'll call it that, it was published on October 4, 2020. The GBD criticized lockdown policies and expressed concern about the damaging physical and mental health impacts of lockdowns. They allege that shortly after being published, the GBD was censored on social media by Google, Facebook, Twitter, and others. Bhattacharya and Kuldarf further allege on October 8th, 2020, 4 days after publishing the GBD, Francis Collins, Dr. Fauci, and Clive Lane proposed together a takedown of the GBD and followed up with an organized campaign to discredit it. I don't remember who was president in October of 2020. We'll have to go look that up. It was one of their complaints that someone was suppressing posts that said Biden was president in 2020. Maybe was that, would they consider that out of bounds? Like if I called him my president or something before he was elected, would I have gotten, was that the kind of suppression he's, no, definitely not. Anyways, Dr. Kuldorf additionally alleges he was censored by Twitter on several occasions because of his tweets, which with content such as thinking everyone must be vaccinated is scientifically flawed, that masks would not protect people from COVID-19, and other anti-mask tweets. Of course, going on older studies that happened in 2021 said that there was efficacy around masks, and it does help. It also, volume of how much your body gets of the pathogen may indeed have had an impact on how it hit your body, that if you got a ton of it, like a huge dose, or you're able to fight off a little bit of it and it didn't grow as fast because some of the strains might not have grown in your system as fast. And so they kind of, that's why you dealt with it kind of like as a flu. But if you got a shit ton of it at the hospital, that's why people could, in hospital situations, could get a lot of it if they didn't seal it off, whatever. Okay. Further alleged, YouTube removed a roundtable discussion in Florida where he and others questioned the appropriateness of requiring young children to wear face masks. Also alleged that LinkedIn censored him when he posted a post of a colleague from Iceland on vaccines, for saying that vaccine mandates were dangerous, proposing that natural immunity is stronger than vaccine immunity, and for posting that healthcare facilities should hire, not fire, nurses. I doubt they were. I would call bullshit on the idea that that they had an issue with natural immunity is stronger than vaccine immunity, which is arguably debatable as well, especially when you're coming to multiple strains. But even still, like the idea that you're like, just get it and then you won't have to get it anymore was the problem with that statement. Not that once you've had it, you have to worry so much, although people have gotten it again and again, and it doesn't stop you from getting long COVID if you've had it naturally before, if it's a different strain, which is kind of the fucked up part, whereas the vaccines do. And for posting that healthcare facilities should hire, not fire, nurses. Okay, where's the evidence that Google had a problem with healthcare facilities hiring, not firing nurses? I know that's very weird, but I'm sure it's true. Plaintiff Jill Hines is co-director of the Health Freedom Louisiana, where we're a snake handling group, and you gotta love it. All right, hold on one second. Consumer and human rights advocacy organization. Hines alleges she was censored by defendants because she advocated against the use of mask mandates on young children. She launched an effort called Reopen Louisiana in probably the earliest part of the Biden administration, wouldn't you say? Does anybody remember who was, why the fuck is Joe Biden a defendant in a case where the first account of her censorship in this situation was in April of 2020? What the fuck? He's the one, he opened things back up. All right, never mind. Additionally, posts on, and this is about the VAERS data, blah, blah, blah. This is where because people were spamming it with bullshit. It is not a verified, the vaccine adverse events page, the VAERS thing. There's no checking of it. It's anecdotal horseshit, which is not helpful in a pandemic, I would think, which is why they're like, we don't take this as seriously as, say, I don't know, double-blind tests of stuff. Let's see. Hines alleges that because of censorship, the reach of Health Freedom Louisiana was reduced from 1.4 million engagements per month to approximately 98,000. Also because of people's reaction to the bullshit as they continue to see people die. Might be the thing. Hines also alleges her personal Facebook page has been censored and restricted from posting content that is protected free speech. I suppose she means child porn and every baby should be born with a gun. Additionally, Hines alleges that two other of their Facebook groups, HFL Group and North Shore HFL, were deplatformed for posting content protected as free speech. It doesn't matter. Again, you don't have absolute free speech on a social media site anyways. And proving, again, this is like, and the weird thing is like the injunction against the government contacting social media during this, like, this is all horseshit. I don't even know why we're going through more of this. This is goofy as hell. Can I just say for the record though, does it, I know I'm trying to make sense of it. It's terrible, Kalahela. It's so stupid. Good Lord. Um, and I love it. Like, this ruling shows the truth behind the truth behind the truth. There's so much truth here, and they shut us down. They wouldn't let us do our thing, doing our thing, and Biden tried to stop me from posting things during the Trump administration. I thought, maybe explain this to me. I thought, and maybe Booze, please, what are they? Let me know in the comments section. Explain this to me, if you will. It goes, this is another one we'll add to the, if adrenochrome works, why does everybody who supposedly takes it look like shit? I thought the QAnon storyline, especially in early 2021, was that Trump was still president. He was still the real president. And Biden wasn't president, and he was not even allowed in the Oval Office. He was doing all this fake presidenting shit from an Amazon set, from not the Amazon itself, but Amazon Studios made him a set. And so he was doing his fake presidenting from a fake Oval Office. I if Trump was magically still president in 2021, is that how, was it kind of like a time inversion? Is this because of the Large Hadron Collider and the Mandela effect that Biden was actually president during 2020 when Trump was doing lockdowns and mandates and all that kind of shit? Anybody? It was all those things that they're complaining about, and they filed this about and talk. No? Can somebody, anybody help? What the shit? I don't understand it. I fucking don't get it. I don't. It's a Hal's gonna burn out. I'm fine. Why can't I say that the Chinese use bioweapons on the world because Biden wants us all to become gay? A questioner. It's true, Sarpus. But the important thing is that we've got to, that questioner is an American citizen. You can tell by their name, Joe American 6969 from Indiana. I am real person. Also, I only use picture of an eagle fucking a flag because it's the only thing more patriotic than my driver's license picture. What the fuck? How you're reading an ideological witch hunt against Democrats? How that's all it is. I agree, EO, but I have to say, Jesse Ventura would have a bit to say. I understand more than anyone what kind of conspiracies exist out there. When I was in the Denver airport, I took a ladder that was inside a panel behind a mural that was put there by the Illuminati. And I went down into the luggage area and I still couldn't find my bag. That's not important. The important thing is that I found evidence that the lab leak theory had something to do with when Trump visited the lab where they were making PPE during if you guys remember that, the one of 4 times he wore a mask. And the lab leak theory started because his diaper was ill-fitting and 2 sizes too small. Yeah, that's in theory. That's where I read it it was written in gold stone, not unlike what Joseph Smith found somewhere in Utah. So, sorry. They are ignorant how Biden was elected in 2020, so he was president retroactively to January 1st, 2020. I see. That's how it works. I've got to know. Dang, Jesse's got a big mane. Forget about it. Come on. I ain't got time to bleed. Listen, Denver has a top secret area under the airport. You don't have to tell me I was there. Come on. It's not acid, it's Hal. Yeah, I'm weird enough. Anybody wants to trip, just look my way. All right, so Hal's Ventura deserves its own avatar filter. It's not a bad idea. I might have to make one. Come on. Baggage claim 666. That's right. How come when you fly through Denver, all the flights are 666 and your pilot is always Bruce Dickinson from Iron Maiden? Explain that, huh? Explain that to this Minnesotan, okay? Explain how when I went down there, it was totally pitch dark and there was something glowing, the only thing casting light in the entire area. And I crawled through a small area, not too small, I'm a giant guy, but you get the point. I'm crawling towards this gold illumination, not unlike the color of whatever was inside the Pulp Fiction briefcase there, that gold glow. And when I got close enough to it, that's when I realized it was the kidney. Remember that. But is he a goddamn sexual tyrannosaurus? If you chew this stuff, you will be. Come on. Sorry. It's getting weird too early. Well, I got to get ready because 8 minutes, we're going to have a moment where Phil Bittner shows up in the middle of this and he's going to be like, what's going on? Hal the Kidney Ventura. It's not bad. It's a good one. Yeah. So, okay, let me, a Tyrannosaurus. That's not right. Let's see. Okay, yeah, there's some sort of, Josh Hawley misquoted the founding fathers about religion and some shit or whatever that they, meant. Oh, that's nice. Ain't been in Missouri but 5 minutes. Okay. Let's see. All right, let's go to World War III is trending. It's finally going to make it. I'm so grateful Joe Biden is the president. How about you? Yes, me seeing World War III trending. Ukraine is definitely going to win the World War III. Let's see. Oh, this is always about like wokeness and whatever the hell. And ship plays 7 Nation Army when, okay. Germany seeing World War III start. What's the Russian economic secretary using tactical nuclear weapons against European countries will prevent World War III? Oh, okay, sure. If I were Putin's shoes, I would do it. The U.S. will not come to Europe's rescue. Yeah, you're an idiot. And this, by the way, look at the bottom of that video, what he was saying. Russian Ministry of Defense. Kiev concentrating troops close to Armsk, whatever. And then it said, hold on, shut up. The was down here on the bottom, on this bottom strip of it. Russian MOD, Kiev forces exploiting Prigozhin provocation. This is a little, this is old. This is a, this is like, dude, haven't you realized the Prigozhin's like out, and back in? I guess he was in St. Petersburg today. So yeah, World War III is tending again. Big breaking: Russia's attacks Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant on the bank of the Dnieper River. Huge fire out of control. Ukrainian joker President Zelensky has destroyed his country. Might possibly trigger World War. This was 11 hours ago. I guess we're just going to buy that. All right, hold on. Well, I'm sure Phil will fill us in on that. Bill de Blasio, John Quincy Adams. Is that the fake quote? Is that where he got it from? Yeah, there you go. I'm told the libs are major triggered by the connection between the Bible and the American founding. For example, the Declaration of Independence first organized the social compact on the foundation of the Redeemer's mission on earth, John Quincy Adams. Now you're using a quote from John Quincy Adams, who was 9 years old the time of the Declaration. I think he maybe meant John Adams, and okay. It is appropriate on this July 4th every day for payers to recall John Quincy Adams' reminder that we should speak the language of equal liberty, of equal justice, and of equal rights, not of empire. That's going to be kind of rough on old Josh there, bad. Also, let me do something real quick, before I bring you guys in here, because I go to VD and get a thing and do it the way we do that. Here we go, and we're ready to go. Getting the show on the road. I gotta open this page up first to do the thing, and the thing it must be done. All right, enabling that, and then we start that. Yeah, excellent. And so Phil will have someplace to go when he gets here. That's all set up and excellent, by the way. Also, just for the record, I haven't had a chance, but I made something. I'm very proud of it. Can I show you guys? Outrageous! I made a graphic that I can throw up whenever I want on this thing. So hold on, I gotta close this. That when I open it, it will let's see. It should play as hold on. Wake up, you silly thing. Let's see. Let's see. Resource close. There we go. It should do it, I think. Yeah. And then I can play this. So it should come. Yay. Outrageous. So when somebody says outrageous, I have a graphic now. Made that. I'm gonna work on what kind of sound effects goes with it, but I figure it deserved it. You know what I mean? Do we need a WTF? I kind of have that. I wish I could hire Hal an assistant. Oh boy, Paul Young, it's not a bad idea. You can. That's what eventually we'll get to, but we got to get to 1,000 Patreon subscribers on the regular before that happens. I decided early on to bring our dear friend CSL in with us when I first hit the 500 mark, and we just got to hit 1,000 on there before we get there. Or if we get to 100,000 or 250 on YouTube subscribers, that'll bump us up, I think. Oh, this was fun, by the way. The GOP's post on 4th of July that had the Liberian flag on it. That was fun. So, and I was like, first it's the Liberian flag, and second, why don't you guys just use this one? It suits you with the Russian flag. I think it worked. I think it was pretty rock solid. Just saying. FBI and DOJ are trending because the right hates them. Party of Law and Order apparently wants no law and order. Yeah. Inside that, yeah, okay. Oh, and there's a big bunch of this shit. Like he has his. Let me see if I can actually. Yeah, this is the in all cap. Here we go. Let's go. Let's find it. Here it is. I should be able to blow this. There it is. Massive prosecutorial misconduct is currently taking place in America. The weaponization of law enforcement cannot be allowed to happen. Crime and inflation are rampant. Our borders are open, our elections are rigged, our economy is in shambles, our energy independence is gone, our leader is mercilessly mocked, our country is being destroyed both inside and out. Do the people of this once great nation even have a choice but to protest the potential doom of the United States of America 2024? Want to be done by then? I mean, if we're doomed and it's that, I mean, how much worse can it get between now and 20? Like, I mean, you expect us to have an election if shit's that bad? I'm confused. If it's that bad, how do you? I don't know. If there's one man that can bring America back from hell, it's a man who, arguably by his behavior, deserves to spend a lot of time there himself. Donald, 2 Corinthians Trump. It's like Arthur 2 Sheds Jackson. It's Donald 2 Corinthians Trump. So I suppose we should call you Arthur No Sheds Jackson. Signed? Did he say Signed? Did I say that? Yeah, Signed. I'm surprised that Stalin didn't make it and again, is Stalin? Is he trying to, but never mind. I'm trying to make too much sense of it. And then I start smelling that smell that of Band-Aids, and then I start getting lightheaded, and then the walls start warping. Is that normal when you read truths? I think so, probably. All right. Again, I don't know how do you make the argument that there's going to be anything left? Don't you have to at least kind of curtail some of your beliefs about how it's gonna, you know what I mean? Like, at what point is this? Oh, my stomach's growling. I gotta eat something later. I was crazy. Um, the where are we going? Pence. Okay, there you go. Yeah. Oh, and this is the other story, the cocaine in the White House story. Pence was brags that nobody found cocaine in the Trump Pence White House because they never looked in Don Jr.'s nose. Okay, one of the other stories, and let's see if Philip isn't here yet, but we're waiting on him. He'll be here any minute, hopefully. Um, one of the stories on Bloomberg that aggravates me, and oh dear me, what the view of what Bloomberg thinks the middle class looks like. Stay relentless. That guy's not going to be middle class for a long. This guy's got a Mercedes, middle class Mercedes. This lady's got a phone, an iPad, and she's watching television. She's totally middle class. This guy's just hanging out at Harvard. I don't quite know. Anyways, so the article this came from, let's see, anxiety-ridden middle class is Biden's biggest election question. That's the clickbait title that I got when I went in there. And then the next title is less clickbaity, I would say. The U.S. middle class's economic anxiety will decide the 2024 election. That is also true for Trump, who did not seek to benefit the middle class, is effectively dragging around what the middle class Trumpers view as the low class maggots, and is trying to like edge them up without any other than bragging about your 401k, which is again up now from under Trump, but what have you. They'll still run on it that way. But so it'll be as much a deciding factor for any Republican as it will be for Biden, but that's the way they feed it. And so that it's interesting that the title changes as soon as these guys get in there. And let me know, chat room, if I may. Let me open this up in case I want to check in case our dear friend Philip Ittner sent us. Nope, I don't see any DMs or anything that says he won't be here. So we'll just keep checking. He'll show up eventually on his own. This is the article. Joe Biden is obsessed with the American middle class. Yes, because if you grow the middle class, you grow the tax base without having to raise taxes. That's how it works. These are the people who pay the most taxes. These are the people who create the most wealth, create the most jobs. And in general, they have all the upper middle class people have all the smaller businesses that are more engaged in the community and have less of a movement out of the place and all that kind of stuff. And Philip's here, but he's sideways. We'll figure that out in a moment. He's cattywampus. There he is. Look at that. He saw it and he rotated himself in there. And I will bring him in just one moment, if I may. But I find it fascinating that, and let's see, let's go to here. Yeah. And grab this. There's always a couple of, he's always a couple of clicks away, people. That's the nature of this whole thing. That somehow these issues that started under Trump and are persistent to economics in general are, for want of a better understanding. Let's see, we'll get him in here. Hold on, he's almost there. We got him, and he leans to the right, so I'll make the video. Just gonna shrink this down a little bit. We'll make this shrink down a little bit more, and I'm almost there. And I think he stepped out for a second, but he'll be in with us in a moment. That the core premise of Bidenomics is that the middle shall come first. Bidenomics is about building an economy from the middle out, the bottom up, not the top down. He's said this throughout. That's how he will push it. Trump has nowhere near that kind of a clarity with his economic message, except everything sucks. It's just not going to fly. But you know what will fly? You know what's going to fly? hold on 1 second. Let me see if I can bring this. Why am I not? I know Phil's coming in from there, so I'm just going to figure out this audio thing real quick, and then I will manage it, and we will get it in there. And I'm going to check. Hey, Phil, can you check for me real quick to make sure? Check. Okay, so that's going to come through. Okay, let me make sure. Okay, and I'll transfer over. Maybe that will do it right here. We'll bring it in, and if I can't do that, then there he is, ladies and gentlemen, the man himself. And audio coming from there now. Give me a check. Let me see if you're there.
Yep. Test,
hey, there he is. Look at that.
Test 1, 2, 3.
Yep, sound good. And if I may, now you should be in my headphones, I hope. Nope.
Test.
I've got to this is always one of those situations where I've got to reset my headphones because they were being naughty, and then I bring them back up, and then they wake up and they go, "I'm sorry, were you interested in us being part of your
brillig,
system?"
and the guidey toes did gyre and gimble in the wob. Mimsy were the burgros and the mumras
as the
outgrab.
titular CEO of all these various companies. So no matter
He
what
took his
happens
verbal
to the
sword
vote,
in hand and long
I hear audio coming from
tongue
another
to
source,
make some
which is
foe he
always
sought.
presence in Africa, which has been built
Hold
up
on 1
very
second.
strongly
I'm getting
since
a
2014,
feed
since
from
the sanctions
the
originally
lovely
went into
folks
effect
at
against Russia for
I think
its
Democracy Now, talking about Prigozhin, by the way, if I may, was part of the conversation there.
As an oofish thought he stood, the Jabberwock came burbling through the
yes, no, I hear you.
wood.
Can you hear me though? Yes.
Burbled as he came. 1, 2, I can hear you. And snicker snack,
yeah, I hear
the
you.
vorpal blade went.
I do. The only thing different is just getting my headphones to wake up somehow. But I'm using.
I'm also still hearing Democracy Now.
There'll be a little bit of a drip, but it'll be fine. Okay, so let's get.
Nope, now it's gone.
And now it's gone. Yeah, it'll come back in. I'll go and we'll shut this down, and you're here, and you're with me, and we're good. All right, now, welcome. Hi, how are you? What's going on? How you doing?
Good.
And
hot day today. Spent some time with. Had a meeting this morning with Erwin Redliner, who's the head of the Ukrainian Children's Action Program,
right?
Who brought with him Joan Baez.
Wow.
So I got to meet Joan Baez for a hot minute.
That's impressive.
But it comes on the heels of yesterday, which is when I went sadly to a funeral.
Yes.
To pay my respects to a Ukrainian journalist who lost her life in last week's Kramatorsk shelling, the missile strike at the pizza parlor in Kramatorsk.
Yeah, I remember.
Where
I
there was a forward observer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So there's such a thing as a forward observer, and that is just basically somebody who targets for incoming artillery. And the Ukrainians caught a guy calling in the missile strike in Kramatorsk. So the reason why I point that out is that they knew that they were striking a pizza parlor at 7:30 p.m. filled with civilians. So if you tell me that the Russians do not target civilians, I will point you to Ria Pizza Parlor in Kramatorsk.
Mm-hmm. So there have been a couple of
very
reports.
sad funeral. And as we speak now, I'm actually uploading a vlog about it on my other network, on my other home internet network. So
gotcha.
By the time we're done here, it should be up. So afterwards, everybody should go take a look at it and pay your respects for Victoria Amelina, who was a very talented young journalist who at 37 was silenced, way too early.
There were a couple of things that I've heard, and I want to get your take on them. One is that there's a lot of movement in the Bakhmut area again, where the Russians are apparently complaining to commanders again that areas are being taken, and it's been confirmed that those areas, I think, have been materially taken. So they're not. This isn't just like a PR recording of somebody complaining about something that didn't happen. It's actually that movement is actually occurring. And then the Zaporizhia, there's like an explosion in another place is being attributed to Zaporizhia, as far as I can find out. But What have you heard in that area?
Now, well, no, let me clarify first before we go into
Sure.
this. Are you talking, when you say Zaporizhia, do you mean the
nuclear power plant.
Zaporizhia front, which is from the city? Oh, you're talking about the power plant. Yeah, I mean, yeah, there's a lot going on at the power plant that is of grave concern, and enough of a concern that the Ukrainians are doing radiation treatment mock-up uh, uh, environments. So, the Ukrainians are taking it seriously. And it's the Russians are withdrawing their troops and their technicians. We know that they've planted explosives in previously they've had military vehicles and artillery that they positioned at the power plant. So it has, and the Ukrainians have tried to hit those military assets that are on the nuclear power plant grounds, all leading to propaganda that if it blows up, it'll be the Ukrainians because look, they've shelled the nuclear power plant before in the past. Well, yeah. They've shelled artillery that you have purposely placed there so that you can do this very thing that they're doing now, which is to say, look, the Ukrainians are shelling. So if it goes boom and there's a dirty bomb, in essence, we can point to that. We Russians can point to that as evidence that the Ukrainians, didn't have any problem shelling the place, which is baloney. They were striking military targets, vehicles, artillery pieces with munitions that would hardly make a dent to any of the reactors. To blow up one of these reactors, much like the Kakhovka Dam, you really need to plant, because these are fortified concrete structures.
Sure.
You don't hit it with the occasional 155 millimeter howitzer or a HIMARS. That's right. So in order to blow structures of this nature, you need to plant a substantial amount of explosive, and also explosives that are planted in very specific locations, which you can only do if you're in control of the location. Hence why I call bullshit on the Kakhovka Dam argument. And if, God forbid, something happens in Zaporizhia, there's very little chance, if no chance, that it would be the Ukrainians, because they don't have the capacity. So a lot of people have already started pointing fingers at one another about who would be responsible if the power plant goes boom. But I don't know. Hell, I don't know if they're going to do it. I don't know. I mean, certainly, I know in my heart of hearts, I know the Ukrainians would not do it. The Ukrainians wouldn't do it for a variety of reasons, not least of which because it's their land. This whole thing is a fight about their land. Why would they irradiate for thousands of years huge parts of their territory?
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's like, why not just strike Chernobyl again while you're at it? It makes no sense. But at the same time, if the idea being that if Russia feels like there are no other options, and if they get busted, they would be busted hitting with a tactical nuke or anything, that a nuclear weapon that would dirty the land like that, and it would it would degrade the relationship with China irreversibly. So they might not do it. But by setting off mines at the Zaporizhia nuclear plant and causing this kind of devastation, the idea that maybe it serves as a radiation border for that, I mean, it's idiotic if they went that far. But that's the only, like, you can hear people on Channel 1 kind of making sense of the value of doing that, but it's just ignorant nonsense. Like, I don't know that that goes any further than the end of somebody's dick. It's so stupid.
Yeah, and we've had Western powers say in a uncharacteristically vocal way that if you blow up, message from NATO to Moscow, if you blow up the nuclear power plant, we will intervene. That will be a pretext for us coming in and actively becoming involved in the conflict, which probably means controlling the skies. So now, of course, as is usual, so many people have said, aha, now that gives Ukraine a reason to blow it up as a false flag, because now NATO has said that they will come in. So
Right.
NATO has, now Ukraine has motivation. Again, first and foremost, Ukraine is not going to irradiate its own lands. And secondly, if NATO does actually get involved in this war directly, and then it's game over. It's either a massive expansion of the war, which I don't think anybody wants, Moscow included. But if in a limited way, if NATO were to say create a no-fly zone over Ukraine, for example, that would be it. That would end it for Russia. Ukraine has substantial amounts of armor, artillery, infantry, all the rest of it. The Ukrainians have repeatedly said that what they really need is anti-aircraft weaponry. Well, if the Zap power plant goes up and NATO holds true to its word and does something like a no-fly zone, then Ukraine doesn't need anti-aircraft because the air won't be an issue. Look, there's so many reasons for everybody not to blow that thing up that I think the possibility of it happening is pretty low.
Right.
But in some ways you can't judge the Russians because they're almost desperate. They're at this point where they know they're losing the war, and so maybe they're desperate enough to do something crazy like that. But I look, there's crazy and then there's crazy, and I don't think that the Russians are going to be that crazy about it. So.
Right.
I'm not losing any sleep. Let's say that I'm not losing any sleep, and next week I'm headed down in that direction. I won't say exactly where I'm going, but I'm headed in that area, and I'm willing. What? Sorry.
No, I was agreeing, like, about that in particular. Maybe you're not losing any sleep, but there's other stuff going on, obviously. But you're right. Go ahead.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Oh, there's tons of stuff that keeps me up at night, but the Zaporizhia power plant is pretty low on that list. And again, I'm headed into that direction. I wouldn't be doing that if I really thought that potentially they were going to blow the plant. So I'm not.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So a couple of things. The one big fallout from Prigozhin, it seems, is the collapse of the ruble. For whatever reason, that is the part that stuck more than any other aspect. Because, I mean, and again, it's the hardest one to BS about, because ultimately they were able to BS about public sentiment. It's like 72% of Russians think that it was handled adequately, and the other ones wish Putin had been a little stronger, but not by much. He was fine. Like it's one of those, like, are you completely satisfied or partially satisfied? Those are your two options, right? 72% were completely satisfied, and the other version got pushed out a window. So, but the ruble itself is in deep shit. It's amazing. It is the worst it has ever been. You can now get 90 rubles for $1. The euro is 100. Both of those are all-time lows for their economy. At the same time, where with the, I guess, Saudis in hand, they are trying to limit oil production to try and bring the price of oil back up. They managed to squeeze another $1 out of every barrel, while at the same time losing what's effectively $6 worth of purchasing power in their currency at the same time. So it was, if at best a wash, and at worst they actually are losing money on two fronts. That in and of itself, but everything else seems to be like, everything's fine, everything fine. He's going to Belarus. We gave him his guns back. He came and picked up his handgun with the Colt, with the Cobra.
He got his money back. I just heard today.
Yeah,
he got his money
he got
back.
100 million rubles back or whatever. Which, in the time that he lost it to the time he got it, it's only worth 90. That's funny. But but ultimately, yeah, it's to pay his guys though. That was supposedly what he said. He had that money to pay. That was how they pay the Wagner Mercs. It's no surprise they take their payments in cash. The other thing too is it being given to him so that I don't know, Lukashenko's people can snatch it at some point, or it's going to be spent there, and that's the deal that they made with Lukashenko, is that we'll move him over there, and all those guys will be on your soil, and you can maybe, tax or whatever, gain whatever funds you can from the graft that happens there. But anyways, that's the main fallout. But 90
Well,
rubles to $1 is crazy.
yeah, oh no, their economy is screwed. And everybody who was like, oh, looking at like this inflated surge that happened when they pumped, the currency trade with basically backed it with gold and stuff. There was this artificial bump that they had, but now we're starting to see the reality of things, and it's not looking good. But as far as like Prigozhin is concerned, his getting his money back, I mean, I think there may be a very real possibility. Again, my contention with Prigozhin is that he is out of prison and alive on Putin's whim. He serves at Putin's pleasure at this point.
Like everybody else in the circle.
And he is in Minsk because being on Russian territory, yes, which is how Putin treats everybody, but he's not on Russian soil, so he can't launch another coup or upheaval or whatever his thing was, his insurrection. But Belarus is not a sovereign state. Belarus is a satellite state, is a puppet state for Moscow. So he is in the near abroad for Russia. He's on a short leash, and again, and only time will tell if I'm right about this or not. And I'm not. This is not the hill I'm going to die on, but I still contend that he is Putin's attack dog. And then when the inevitable chaos that happens within the power structure, not Putin himself, but but below that level, he's the czar. So all the other kind of, again, boyars, I use the term boyars because it's the czarist term, but I mean basically the strongmen below Putin who are about to engage in interfighting because they're all looking at a post-Putin era. Putin will be able to use Prigozhin on a short leash just on the other side of the border in Minsk as a threat to other power brokers within Moscow. So and I say this again because there's no explanation for why he is not in prison or dead. There has to be there has to be a use that Putin sees in Prigozhin. Otherwise, he would not be under house arrest in Minsk and on that short leash, because it just Putin uses people like that, and he sees people as assets and things like that's his whole judgment thing is based on how much of an asset are you to me. And if Prigozhin continues to draw a breath and is safely on the other side of the border in, again, a puppet state, but still, on the other side of the border, there's a reason for it. Right. So that has yet to play out fully, but we're going to see it. The more things go badly here, and then we go back to the counteroffensive. We talk about Bakhmut. Did you hear the reports that chemical weapons have been used in Bakhmut?
No, I had not.
Yeah, there are reports today that the Ukrainian armed forces say they have proof that the Russians have been using a chemical weapon, which name escapes me at the moment, but and they're going to present this evidence. Right. So there's that going on, but they're continuing to make progress. They're gaining ground in the southeast and then in the eastern front. So again, there's not going to be a day where we wake up and there's going to be this major, I don't think, this major thrust where suddenly they, have broken through the lines and are now, circling around, and there are these huge spearheads and blitzkrieg and all the rest of it, and them wrapping around, Russian units and choking them off. I don't think that's going to happen. I think the Ukrainians are going to slowly push with a few miles here and a few miles there every day, day by day, until they reach the sea, and then they cut off the land bridge. And then the question is, well, if we don't have the land bridge, why are we fighting for Crimea anymore? And then the repercussions for Putin, who, as a Russian leader losing territory that was annexed by Catherine the Great. Okay, back when she was a contemporary of George Washington. So as much as we hold our founding fathers in reverence, you have to understand the place that Crimea holds in the mentality of the Russian people, because it was the first real honest acquisition of territory that led to the concept of Russia as empire,
right?
Which has been with them since we were founded as a nation. So everything that we are, everything that we as Americans believe ourselves to be, is on the time frame, the timeline of Russia's realization of themselves as empire. Any Russian leader to lose Crimea in particular, but Ukraine, you could argue as well, he's never going to stay in office.
Mm-hmm.
The Russians, you know how many Russians have like summer homes in Crimea? It's crazy.
Fewer and fewer, apparently. For the record, the Institute for the Study of War, which has an
You're
increase,
right. Used to have summer homes.
Just a point of order, Mr. Chair, but as it were, Ukrainian National Security and Defense Council Secretary Alexei Danilov reported on July 4th that Ukrainian forces are performing their main task of destroying Russian manpower. This is from the Institute for the Study of War. Ukrainian forces appear to be focusing on creating an asymmetrical attrition gradient that conserves Ukrainian manpower at the cost of a slower rate of territorial gains while gradually wearing down Russian manpower and equipment. That is what we've been talking about, this kind of slow and steady wins the race idea. The Ukrainian forces...
God, I love those think tank guys, though.
Huh?
Listen to that. Listen to that language. Those think tank guys. They sit around in their offices with a thesaurus. How can I sound more intelligent? Basically, what that guy is saying. Basically, that guy is saying the same thing we've been saying for months. Slow and steady wins the race, and they're not, and they're playing on all sorts of. They're playing, and it's working, and they're playing on a lot of different levels.
Yeah. So, the Ukrainian forces have liberated territory in multiple areas on the front since the start of the counteroffensive in early June. Ukrainian Deputy Defense Minister Hanna Maliar reported on June 3rd that Ukrainian forces had liberated a total of 37.4 square kilometers in eastern and southern Ukraine in the past week. And I think it's almost... that's even more than the week before. Ukrainian forces are continuing to make steady, gradual advances. The current pace of Ukrainian operations...
20 some odd miles in a week.
Yeah. Is not indicative of a stalemate or evidence that Ukraine cannot take large areas, according to their breakdown of it. They continued counteroffensive operations in at least 4 sectors at the front and advanced on July 4th. The Russian Ministry of Defense claimed that the Russian forces repelled Ukrainian ground attacks in the Lyman direction. The Ukrainian General Staff reported that Ukrainian forces continued counteroffensive operations in the Bakhmut area, in the western Donetsk-Zaporizhia Oblast border area, and in the western Zaporizhia Oblast. Ukrainian military officials stated that Ukrainian forces had made some unspecified advances on Bakhmut's northern and southern flanks, and a prominent Russian mill blogger also claimed that Ukrainian forces advanced north of Bakhmut. They saw them coming, and I saw that report personally. Ukrainian Tavrisk Group of Forces spokesperson Valery Shershin stated that Ukrainian forces advanced up to 2 kilometers in the western Donetsk-Zaporizhia Oblast border area, and a Russian mill blogger claimed that Ukrainian forces reached Pryutne Priyutna, am I saying that right? 15 kilometers southwest of Velika Novosibirsk in western Donetsk Oblast. Geolocated footage confirms.
Novosibirsk,
Yeah,
I believe
Novosibirsk.
is what
Yeah.
that is.
Geolocated footage confirms that Ukrainian forces made additional advances south of Orivkivk, yeah, Orivkivk in western Zaporizhia Oblast. Now, they're ongoing. They have this interactive map that's kind of always happening, and they time lapsed out, from the attack into the, how far they've come and where they've been backed up to currently. Right now, there is not only is there constant movement on the edges, but remember that area. I'll see if I can bring it up in here where you can look at it. This is there's lots of these like areas where they're pushing back on this or they're pushing back to here, and there's a lot of this blue area that's ongoing, including all this stuff that was later on. Again, I can walk this back even on a timeline in a second, but see this little area right here. This is the claimed internal Ukrainian reported Ukrainian partisan warfare. This was a dot, if you'll recall, when we first started looking at this. That around Melitopol, there was like a small circle, and now
Melitopol,
it
yeah.
is almost.
Yeah,
Look at all this territory.
That's the Zaporizhia front. That's the southeast front.
Right.
Yeah.
And there's
No, they're making
expansion
progress.
happening,
They're
and then
making
there are
they're
these little
making steady
areas.
progress.
Yeah, near Tokmak and this other area over here that are the size of that of the partisan warfare area internal to the to the Russian claimed areas, that are the size that it was at the beginning of the war. There's one here, one here, one here, and there's one down over on this side, past Kherson and the edge of Kherson Oblast, closer to the Black Sea. And then there are a couple of areas, interestingly enough, that are they all seem to be either at junction points in these freeways where they would carry stuff, including one way over here deep inside close to the Russian border, but also in near port areas and at these like 3 road junctions down past Novotroysk, yeah, down in here. So that has been expanding ever since. And again, like this is the original claimed territory, and this is the action front right here. This is where Russia still claims it has space, but there's been geolocated attacks within this. This is confirmed claimed. Blue is confirmed claim. But see this line right here? See the hard line right there? And see this dotted line above it? That is all up for grabs all along here, all the way up to the Belarusian border. That's why there's no direct punch like there was with Kherson or Kharkiv, which were singular to an entire area, which they took back earlier, but because they are literally shoving all the way across the line. And the only place they aren't is where they've claimed the water. So it's where bridges have been blown and that kind of stuff. And down here where the land is connected again, they're doing it again. It's all through here, and this is fully claimed area. So the assessment of it has been pretty extraordinary. See if I can find a way to this is one of their their interactive map. This is the playthrough of it. So this is where the attack started in the beginning. This is where they rolled in. This is where they were coming up for Kiev at the top, and then look at all the action up at the top near Kiev, and then watch it like basically while they're connecting this stuff. It was almost as if this was noise to do it.
Disappear.
Yep. And then once they claim these areas around here, this collapses because you could argue that this was a head fake to get this big chunk right here. And they just rolled in. This was in a matter of, this is March. Yeah, there. And so the claiming and what they could claim and what they did claim and stuff was in the course of like 3 months. This all bunk, bunk, bunk. See, that all falls back. Pow. And then it's been kind of sitting at this, and then they entrenched this area from that point forward. They just basically reinforced. Oh, we lost Phil for a second, but he'll be back, hopefully. They reinforced this piece of it and then started a crawl. And then here's Kharkiv and all this kind of stuff. Oh, okay, Phil, you're back with us. Let me see if oh, there you go. Okay, good. And And then if you'll notice, it it effectively
Up.
starts just
Yep. No,
holding
no,
at
I'm
that
with you.
area for a while, and then we get into the latter part of the year, and there's a real pushback. They kind of try to give themselves a border around Donetsk, around here, and then yeah, then it starts to then they start to lose ground. Here's the Kharkiv offensive right here, turning blue. This is the Kherson area that they held for a good long while. That starts to get eaten away in a very short order, around June of the last year. Huge push there. Always a lot of flapping around Bakhmut as we looked at it, all last year. This was all happening. This is, the Wagner group was fighting for this peace forever. Now, I don't know if at any point the we'll go into Belgorod. We'll see a little blue go into Belgorod for a day, or if we see Rostov on Don turn, I don't know what, purple with the taking of it by the Wagner group in that regard, because it's officially not.
On
Yeah.
all this kind of stuff, who's really good on all this kind of stuff
Hmm.
is my friend Sarah, Sarah Ashton Cirillo,
Yeah.
who is now taking a new job here in the capital. She was up until about 2 weeks ago on the front lines outside of kind of the Kharkiv salient in the kind of northeast of the country, but she has left there. She's left the trenches where she was as a combat medic. And for those of you who don't know who Sarah is, she is a Nevadan who came over here as a journalist and became so involved in the war, or said, saw so much of what was happening in the war that she decided it was a righteous fight and stopped her journalism and became a member of the armed forces of Ukraine. Sarah and I have become friends.
Right.
I hope she wouldn't oppose me saying that.
Right.
And I spent, but she's now in the Capitol, and she is now doing daily bulletins of very specific topics of this nature. So if you want to follow that kind of stuff in a video, she does at least one or two a day. If not, I've seen her do up to, I think, like 6 or 7 in a day.
Sure.
And she's got a
send me your links and
studio of her.
I'll spread it around.
I will. And she's got a studio of her own. They've provided her and given her infrastructure so that she can be the English language public affairs officer for the territorial forces of Ukraine. And she has now started doing, daily, like, minutia. Well, I say minutia, but I mean, everything is important. Updates on, what is going on. So I will send you a link, and shortly I'll probably be putting it out on other through other means. But if you just get on her Twitter, it's just Sarah Ashton. Ashton, H on Sarah, and then Cirillo is Cirillo. If you do a Twitter, because she puts all of her bulletins out on Twitter,
right,
and other social media as well, but she does stuff like that. The map that you're showing, although she doesn't use graphics, but she does in essence this kind of like, this is what is happening today on the ground, on the front line. So it's worth following her, I think, if you want to get into this kind of stuff. She's very good at it. And the armed forces of Ukraine finally have realized that having a public affairs officer who speaks English is a good thing to do.
Right.
A year and a half into this thing, they finally have an English-speaking public affairs officer.
Well, there's a reason to not have one, to feel like if you're pushing back against the idea that you're a NATO puppet state or that the United States is actually running stuff. There's a reason to only have people or whatever. But still, I get it. Also,
true, but English is ironically the lingua franca of the 20th and 21st centuries. So
yep, and in terms of this map, I don't think it's lost on anybody that's been, as we've been talking, watching this actually change. This is into February of this year. That the blue area around Kharkiv, that huge chunk that was taken back, and then the big area from down by Kherson, that looks like a an ocean, or it looks like a small ocean or a lake, is actually reclaimed territory, which eventually, I believe, on this map, when we get closer, just becomes it's no longer blue anymore. I guess, in some cases, because it's just part of Ukraine. It's been held so long that it doesn't even qualify as battleground anymore. That said, people need to remember, like, not only, I mean, they're just like the places over Kiev, like this area. Like, if we left all the blue, every place they had taken back from Russia, the entire top of this would be blue. And that, that gets lost on people when you start going, well, it's our ground, so we don't consider it retaken ground unless it was within a certain time frame. Again, this is here we are at March, and then we'll get a little closer to this as we start getting close to June. You see these punch-ins up near Donetsk, which is there's a lot of partisan warfare mixed in with stuff. And then these dots start appearing in the center of the Donetsk Oblast, way back over here, closer to the Russian border. And then, like I said, around Melitopol, the larger partisan warfare pieces start to break out. And then there just becomes like a month of firefight leading up to what is effectively the push that started in June. And then we see, again, larger. Yeah, see, now they take out the blue because this is just considered permanently retaken now, which I think is a fascinating part of this. As of May 18th, they're saying effectively all those retaken areas, like the stuff taken earlier back in the year, are just Ukraine now. There's no chance that they become a part of the battleground again in the foreseeable future, if at all. Then we get into June, and this starts to light up again. All along here, look at this. Watch the chewing of this down here by Kherson. There'll be some back and forth movement over here, up, down, up and down. See this, like the regain and loss. And again, a lot of it is the discussion, of we've got it, no, we've got it, no, we've got it, no, we've got it, back and forth. But ultimately, you'll notice they try to do a push down here at Kherson.
Well, and what's also interesting about, yep.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead. Because we're basically up to date.
No, I was going to say what's also interesting about that is this is also interesting because it's about a month ago, during this period of time that you're showing now, where they actually the Ukrainians took back territory that has been held by the Russians since 2014, and which ostensibly falls under their bullshit referendum, which in Moscow's eyes means that it's actually Russian Federation territory. So in this period of time that you're showing right now, Ukrainians reconquered or liberated territory that in Russia's mind, in Moscow's mind, is part of Russia. Right. And they have long said, the Russians, that if they were, if you attack taking soil, their territory would, right, if you attack Russian soil, it gives us a pretext to use nuclear weapons, but it also gives us a pretext to kind of like ratchet up our war fighting sort of thing. Because this is in the argument that they put forward is that this is now because of our referendum, which is everybody knows is bullshit. Because it was done at the end of a bayonet, but in Moscow's mind was legitimate, even if it's delusional. But they haven't responded. They have not responded, and this is basically a good month since they took that territory.
Right.
So, again, another example of Russia not holding to its red lines, quote unquote, which the West is continuously arguing is why they're afraid to give more support to Ukraine. I had cocktails about 2 days ago. I think it was, so it was on Monday. Yes, it was on Monday. Was it Monday or was it yesterday? No, it was yesterday after the funeral. With a security officer who has because he does personal detail, protection detail for a lot of bigwigs. So he has been in a lot of meetings, and while he wasn't willing to say anything, too concrete, or because he has to hold, security clearance, But he was willing to say, that that a lot of that territory,
Mm-hmm.
that there's a growing tension between Ukrainians and friction and tensions within the West itself, that we need to stop listening to this red line bullshit,
Yes.
and we need to give the Ukrainians whatever they need
Mm-hmm.
to finish this war, and if we continuously think about what is going to upset the Russians, then
You're always
we're
playing by
letting
their
Russia.
game. You're always playing by their rules. Yeah.
That's right. That's right. Exactly. So the fact that they haven't responded to this acquisition of territory that ostensibly was in Moscow's mind, annexed into the Russian
Christ, like,
Federation, if they haven't
World War
responded to
III
that,
is trending again. Like, how many times is there
Yeah.
a red line going to be crossed by Russia that doesn't result in what everybody fears, or that everybody says, we got to stop, guys, we got to stop protecting Ukraine, we got to stop helping them, because if we do this, if we cross this line, then Russia's going to nuke it, and then it's going to be a nuke, and then World War III, and we're all going to be dead. And then it happens time and time again, and at a certain point, you're like, I got to call bullshit. I got to actually say that you're just siding with the Russians, and they're getting their ass kicked at this point. I just put up on the screen this story that according to the Russian Defense Ministry, Ukraine has launched a drone attack on Moscow that forced flights to be diverted from Vnukovo
Right.
International Airport. It said 5 drones were shot down. They were all over the. Interestingly enough, fascinating detail of the story, that all of them Shahed drones piloted by Russians. It's a very clever plan by the Ukrainians. It's amazing. They're so deep undercover. They're not sure what side they're on at this point. But that was an ongoing story.
I saw a statement. I saw a statement by Maria Zakharova, the press secretary for the foreign ministry, the Russian foreign ministry,
right,
in which she was like, "How dare the Ukrainians attack our civilian infrastructure? This is a war crime." To which my response, and I'm sure she didn't read my response to her announcement, but regardless, but my response was, "Bitch, I've been in fucking Ukraine all winter when you were trying to deprive me of heating, electricity, and water by bombing infrastructure, including including New Year's Day, when you sent missiles just willy-nilly all throughout the capital. So spare me your protestations about how dare the Ukrainians attack civilian infrastructure," which, by the way, Vnukovo, as a joint military and civilian air base or airfield, is not, it's fair game. So
yeah, which is the weird part, because it's like you're using it to take off, like to do bombing runs, and then and going, well, airplanes are airplanes, so we have to shut down civilian air traffic because a military site was attacked. And the Ukrainians aren't even claiming that they did it. So this could be anybody with 5 consumer drones that they found in a warehouse someplace and just decided to fly all of them in a formation because they did, it's idiocy. By the way, there's another story out of the Financial Times that's coming from the Xi Jinping meeting with Vladimir Putin, that it was Xi Jinping indeed that warned Vladimir Putin against a nuclear attack in Ukraine or attacking the Zaporizhia facility. So if there's a failure of their false flag, or it never gets off the ground, largely it's that Xi Jinping has gone, look, we're this close to still being able to sell crap to the West for a couple of more years. And if you screw that up, we're done. Because that's where the talks are right now. Like, China's a mess, and it's gotten worse by the month. They've got 26% youth unemployment in the country right now, in what's allegedly a communist country. I don't even know how that works. How do you have unemployed at all in a communist country? Doesn't everybody get a job?
In a communist country.
Yeah. Alleged, right, which is the important thing. But and China is using the leverage of the fact that it has somewhere in the order of $190 billion bilateral trade between the two of them, which is, by the way, in terms of what the West buys, chicken shit.
Oh yeah.
It's nothing. It's nothing. It's not enough to like keep Shanghai lit for a month. So it's and it's bilateral. That means both directions it equals 190 billion. that's just goofy. So the idea that somehow they're going to blow something up and irradiate their own land or any of that kind of stuff, or start World War III or any of that crap, when the Chinese are like, yeah, no, we only exist right now and for the next 10 years because we sell stuff on Temu to the rest of the world. That's it. We haven't got anything else. And that they talked them out of it is the theory, or at least that they're that's being put forward. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean the I don't know. I am not again, I'm not losing sleep over Zaporozhye nuclear power plant. The Ukrainians are not going to blow up their own nuclear power plant on their own territory. I mean, also because again, I guess we're circling back on the topic of the ZAP plant, but it's like the gains that Ukraine would get from blowing, like the argument that a lot of people who are saying, "Oh, look, we're setting things up for Zaporozhye to be a false flag that the Ukrainians will commit on themselves."
Mm-hmm.
There are a bunch of like glaring problems with that narrative, and that first and foremost, the Ukrainians are not going to irradiate their own land, but also secondly, the Ukrainians don't have to go with their hat in their hand to the West. They're already. It's a matter of how really what it is anti-aircraft and F-16s. That's the disagreement between the West and Ukraine right now. Do you think they're going to blow up a reactor and create a dirty bump for a bunch of F-16s, which they do admittedly desperately want, but they don't? That is such an overstretch for what they would get in return. It's stupid. People who are making that argument are idiots. The West already supports Ukraine. They don't need a false flag.
Nope. Yeah, and if anything, it's not going to reinvigorate the entire thing because it would just muddy up the awfulness of it, and maybe even create. One of the things Russia could hope for is that the lack of direct information. They mine it. They accuse the Ukrainians of blowing it up. That back and forth causes a bunch of very nervous Nellies in the U.S. Congress or in the European Union to go, all right, we got to stop this immediately. This has gone too far. And they hope that would happen. That would be the one.
I could see that scenario. Yes, I could see that being a motivation for the Russians to do it. In that it would be so horrific that everybody would say we need to sue for peace right now. And if we sue for peace right now, given the lay of the land, Russia walks away with a benefit.
Yes.
And that's unacceptable because if they walk away from this with a benefit, they'll come back.
Right. And I also don't think it would work on their behalf. I think ultimately the reaction there would be maybe a day of, oh my God, this is terrible. Look what the Russians have done. And then the blame for it would lay right at their feet. There is no, there were no bombs going off around Zaporizhzhia or any threat even to it from any direction until these assholes showed up. And one of the things that I think it would turn into is Russia has to get out now, right now, everybody out. That's we're all in behind Ukraine. This is stupid.
Yeah.
The idea that we let these guys
more likely than not
the field of war, that's where it would go in a matter of 24 hours after it happened. After a momentary Rep MTG tweeting that we need to stop funding the nuclear destruction of America or some nonsense, that would end very quickly with the rest of the sensible world going, everybody out, just like lights on at the club. Like, just, you don't have to go home, but you can't stay here, it would be the idea.
Yep.
Meanwhile, by the way, in relation to what you're talking about economically, and we're getting near the end of the show, and I want to remind everybody to follow Philip on his Twitter account, and of course, watch his YouTube vlogs. He's got some new ones he's posting, and
did you see my interview with Jim?
I have not yet. So I will share parts of that
I interviewed my latest interview. My latest interview that I posted on Monday was with a gentleman by the name of Jim Stewartson, and Jim is Jim has the dubious distinction as being one of the only citizens, American citizens, to be sued by one of the most powerful men in America, Mike Flynn, for defamation because he basically called out Flynn as leader of QAnon.
Yeah.
So Jim and I did a Zoom interview about a week ago, and I've been editing it, and I published it on Monday. It's a little bit rough because Zoom calls are not always great, but he brings up we talk about bigger picture stuff in that there is clearly a connection between Michael Flynn and the GRU.
Yes.
So if you want, I think it was a good interview. He brings up a lot of good points. He's had a rough time of it, and he's been called all sorts of things, and he's had his life turned upside down because Michael Flynn doesn't play.
Yeah.
But it's an interview worth checking out.
Great.
And then I posted a vlog about Mariupol, which is an interesting vlog and relevant because, again, I think Ukrainian forces are pushing towards the sea. And Mariupol is one of the only cities left occupied by Russians. And I talked to a lot of Mariupol internally displaced people about their hopes that this counteroffensive will result in them able to be going home. And then today, just as we're talking now, and probably within the next 15 minutes to 20 minutes, there will be my vlog about the funeral of the journalist Victoria Amelina, which is tragic and awful and indicative of how an entire generation of civil leaders in Ukraine are being taken off the board because of the cruelty of the Russians. And then very soon there will be another interview with somebody, and I don't want to give it away until I publish it. But I hope to publish that on Friday. But I'm trying to get out more content. I'm trying to do more interviews, which are easier to edit because I hate editing.
Understood.
So I'm going to continue to do packages and reports, which are very labor intensive and all that good stuff. But I think are worthwhile. Yeah. But in order to churn out more content, I'm doing more interviews and trying to interview a lot more interesting people. So, I've got some good content. In the last week or 10 days or so, I've put out what I think are some pretty solid content, not least of which is the interview with Jim. So it's worth checking out.
So I remind everybody to check out Phil's channel on YouTube as well and watch all those things. And it's if you're just catching up on a lot of the depth of this conversation, it's a great place to go in that regard. And of course,
sorry. And I'm totally shameless.
Yeah. I'm in mid.
Totally shameless, buddy. Yes, I know you're trying to help me, but I'm plugging myself. I know you are, but I want to interrupt you because there's another point. And by the way, we don't do a chat, you and I, on Tuesday. So a belated happy Independence Day to you.
Thank you.
I don't know. I reposted my Independence Day vlog that I did last year, but I think it's still relevant. I reposted it. That's worth checking out again. But did you see how all the wonderful things that were coming out of Kiev and all of Ukraine on the 4th of July yesterday?
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah, it was
the Ukrainians
very,
in general
very,
were like happy.
very. Yeah,
it was nice to see. It was greatly appreciated. Oh, we lost him for a second. He froze for a second. There he is. Oh, he's back. Okay, good.
Yeah. They're very thankful, and they're very thankful, and they do recognize, as we all should, that actually our fight is one and the same. The American experiment that we celebrate every 4th of July is alive and well here in Ukraine, and has gotten a booster shot, has gotten the a shot in the arm towards liberal democracy. And as much as they were telling us congratulations yesterday, I was telling a lot of my Ukrainian friends and contacts here that, as much as I appreciate their thanks and congratulations on Independence Day, it is we who should be thanking the Ukrainians as well, because they have reinvigorated the idea that, liberal democracy is something worth fighting for. So I don't know if you saw that or not, but good stuff.
Yeah, I did. And I retweet, I think, one of them, if I recall, if it went through, but I gotta say I wasn't that surprised, because I know they get it, and I know it's something aspirational. Had Ukraine had 200 years of physical isolation the way the United States has enjoyed, that have contributed to its onshore peace, they would do almost anything to have that, and they're having to do almost anything just to have a scrap of it. So ultimately, that's where my respect for them, lies. That said, we're at the end of the show. Everybody,
Yep.
Phil will be with me on Saturday for another update. There's constant movement going on, and it's and especially like that front line is getting pushed. I watched 300 again night before last, and I remember that, like, they were showing the Spartan shield idea, where they had fewer people, so they all lock shields, and there's this whole strategy thing that they talk about, if anybody saw it. And whatever your feelings about it are, there are elements of truth about that part of the strategy, where they lock shields and then they shove back and stab, and then lock shields again and shove back and stab. And that's how they took a much greater force along this beach. And they used the bodies of the men they killed as mortar to create a wall to stop the forces and channel them into a valley. There's
Good
so
old
many
Frank Miller.
parallels. Yeah, in that moment.
Yeah, there are a lot of there are a lot of parallels, and
Yeah.
we're not done yet. It's
Nope.
going to be slow and steady,
But it's working.
Ukraine is going to win. Ukraine is going to push the sea. They're going to crack the land bridge in half, and then Russia is going to have to make some very serious
Big
decisions
concessions on their way out the door. Agreed.
Yeah.
So appreciate it, Philip. Thanks for being with me.
All
brother.
right, buddy.
And I will see you on
we'll
Saturday.
talk on Saturday.
Cool.
Sorry for interrupting you in your hype. For me.
I was trying to do it for you.
I know, buddy. I know. I'm sorry with the delay and everything, and
Am I
you
not
know
the
how
guy
I
who
can
does
be.
it? I've been doing it earlier than anybody. I've been selling.
I know.
Longer than anybody, so fear not. You're in
such
good
a
hands,
schmuck,
my friend.
I'm such a schmuck. I should be more grateful, but I wanted to get the point, my points out as well. So
yeah, no.
Thank you, my friend.
Yes,
as always.
I'll see you on Saturday.
Thank you for everybody watching. Do check out my vlogs. There's a new one coming up, within the next 15, 20 minutes.
Excellent.
There'll be a new one. So check it out. And I'm trying to put out more content, and we'll talk on Saturday, buddy.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Thanks so much.
Okay. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye. And thanks everybody for joining me today for the morning show. It's a good time. We'll have a regular afternoon show and there was so much leftover content from yesterday that honest to God, there was so many moments in it where I was like, I'm not going to be able to get through all this stuff. Like anytime I have a day where I don't get to do a full show, like on Monday where I was doing radio, where I get behind on the clips, I feel like I'm in the middle of a giant gish gallop. You know what I mean? Where the lies are just coming in hot and heavy, and I just don't have the material time in the time that I am allotted to deal with all of them. So now I'm trying to do them in kind of like big group lumps. Does that make sense? I'm trying to like squeeze them all together into not the one big lie, but several, portly elephant turd size lies that we can deal with a broader shovel instead of having to shrimp fork our way through this horse shit. And on that analogy, woof, that was a big one, don't you think? Chat room, that was a worthwhile analogy, if I do say so my damn self. I will see you guys come the morn. Take care of yourself and take care of somebody else. And remember, the most important thing of all is I ain't got time to bleed.
Even outside, it's packed. I broke their ass. They had a wet vaccine. Don't want anything that's
agree. I'm a dope.
De-engineering.
Oh yeah, that's normal.
Dumps. They call them dumps. Big, massive dumps.
I broke their ass.
You could say it's a back door, but I call it a smart door.
Michigan gave us Motang. They said, ooh,
I had a beat off.
in his sock drawer.
Will do, Stargal.
I felt really good almost after taking it.
We had a wet vaccine.
We're going to be appointing very pro-crime judges.
I don't read, obviously.